everyone to In Layman's Terms, the show where we take an abnormally giant concept and try to boil it down for you. In today's episode, we'll be taking a look at religious freedom and the whole context of why it's being used against members of the LGBT community. Okay everyone, let's have some fun.
With the last few weeks dominated by Donald Trump's claim of near certain coercion at this point, one interesting story got lost in the shuffle. The California Attorney General has banned state employees for traveling to Texas, Alabama, and South Dakota due to their laws in the LGBT community. I find this interesting, not that California is taking a unique and unflinching stance on LGBT rights, but on also that despite us passing gay marriage nearly 2 years ago, many states have done the exact opposite and is seemingly fighting back at every turn. This got me wondering why. Why are certain states fighting so vehemently hard to deny rights, even flying in the face of the Supreme Court? Well, this vigor, this denial of social rights has a name: religious freedom. You have undeniably heard this term before, as numerous religious freedom bills started sprouting up all over the place. These bills are called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, and so far, a total of 22 states have their own version of these bills. Indiana and Arkansas passed their own much more restrictive versions, but to understand why these bills exist, we are going to look at where this all started. The year is 1993. Alfonso Smith is a member of the Native American Church. He was fired from his job after ingesting peyote, a cactus which causes psychedelic effects when it's ingested. This is often used in Native American rituals, but under Oregon law, intentional use was banned. To make matters worse, this is without affirmative defense, which basically means he has no way of mitigating these charges. Smith and his counselors sued to get unemployment benefits and compensation, arguing that by banning peyote, the government was infringing on his religious freedom. The case got appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court, which stood by Oregon's decision stating that the First Amendment does not give people the right to waive neutral laws. The Smith decision utterly enraged the US public, uniting both liberals and conservatives in supporting the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. The law was introduced and passed that year, signed into law by Bill Clinton.
The way this law works is that it prevents the federal government from restricting your ability to practice your religion, and as such, it puts all religions on a simple playing field. That being said, the federal government does have the ability to interfere under two very distinct conditions. The first, is it the least restrictive way possible, and the second, is it within the government's best interest? It is to be noted, however, that a year later after the bill's implementation, the bill was deemed unconstitutional, and as such, only states that have actually done the state versions actually apply. This is the reason why we only have 22 states that do this, not all 50. So here comes the big question. If the original intention of the bill was to protect smaller religions, like this, why did it turn from a shield into a spear that's used to attack members of the LGBT community? Well, the answer actually comes in two forms. The first, Citizens United, and the second, Hobby Lobby.
For those who are unaware, Citizens United is that case that basically destroyed the dignity of American elections. But the big thing about Citizens United that matters in this case was the case's biggest argument: that corporations are people, and as such is entitled to the same rights. Then, Hobby Lobby happened. In 2012, Hobby Lobby sued the US government in view of Obamacare's policy that the company must provide contraceptives. Since Hobby Lobby is against birth control and is deeply Christian, they argued that as a corporation, they have the right to not provide contraceptives because of, you guessed it, their religious freedoms. Hobby Lobby ultimately won that case, which is akin to breaking the wall of common decency with the world's largest sledgehammer. Basically, what Hobby Lobby did was set precedent. This basically means that if one person can get away with it, it gives the green light basically for everyone else. Hobby Lobby could deny rights using religion, so when gay marriage was passed in 2015, the entire religious right united against this perceived threat. Because the Christian Bible has 4 passages against homosexuality, this puts the LGBT community in the crosshair. Texas, Alabama, and South Dakota from before can deny homosexuals from adopting children, while Kentucky passed their own version, allowing religious discrimination in.
Essentially, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act has been hijacked by the radical right. To better illustrate this point, let's take a look at Indiana. Now, Indiana's version is called SB 101 and does exactly what you think it does. Puts all religions on the same playing field, but with one additional rider is that it allows corporations to practice their own religions in a closeted manner. This is code for I'm able to discriminate against you based on my religion. The person that signed this bill into power is this guy, Mike Pence, who is our current vice president. Now, Pence himself faced a lot of criticism at the time, and as such, it took him a whole year of full denial of the facts that this was a discriminatory bill until he signed in more protections. Now, while signing the protections is a good thing, do keep in mind, it took him a year to do it. But it's more than just LGBT discrimination we have to worry about. It's also LGBT retaliation. Case in point, the Hate Crime Prevention Act of 2009. Now, what this act did was that it put crimes against homosexuals for the basis of their homosexuality as a hate crime, which is ultimately a good thing because this allows federal prosecutors to go after them. However, guess who's behind the opposition of that? Mike Pence. He said specifically that if a priest were to say, hey, I do not agree with homosexuality, it would be aiding and abetting into a federal crime, which is not what the law says. What the law actually says, very specifically in one section of it, is that freedom of religion, which is protected by the First Amendment, does not get in the way of this law. And as such, the law won't even touch freedom of religion. Basically is, you can preach that gay people are bad, but you can't incite a hate crime against them. And it's more than just Mike Pence that's also against this. It's also with this guy. This is Jeff Sessions, our current Attorney General, who also shared somewhat of the similar opinions. See, what these people don't get is that the Religious Freedom Restoration Act puts all religions on the same playing field. It does not put Christianity on a pedestal, which is what all these people are kind of thinking that they're saying. As such, when you put one religion over a pedestal and not all on the same playing field, you're not talking about religious freedom anymore. You're talking about the definition of bigotry. You see, what I'm afraid of, really afraid of, is what would happen if we just got the provision that the federal government is able to interfere and we add in the rider from the Hobby Lobby decision that would basically say, hey, corporations, you now have the free reign to do this. Well, the problem is that that would completely annihilate the whole concept between the separation of church and state. The fact that, hey, why is it that a Christian law or a Christian ideal that homosexuality is bad in their eyes have to affect everybody, despite the fact that even though we live in a Christian society, we cannot be called a Christian country. I do want to leave you guys with a glimmer of hope. Let's take a story that happened in Arizona, for example. Now, a few years back, Arizona tried to pass their own version of SB 101, or the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, as you will like to call it. However, two things happened. One, Jan Brewer, their governor, vetoed the law. And the second is that one of their state senators came out as gay. So I am proud to say that the resistance against all of these bills being shoved down our throats against the LGBT community is working. And maybe, just maybe, if we keep pushing, if we get Democratic governors in power that allow us to repeal these laws, we might be able to live in a country that can fully accept gay people. So, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act started with good intentions to protect smaller known religions. It was hijacked by the radical right, put into use for nefarious purposes against the LGBTQ communities, and the resistance against it has been working in hoping to one day repeal these laws. My name is Max Malik, and I'll see you guys next time.